We've been looking back at the greatest games ever made for a Nintendo Entertainment System in groups of 2 years, but now that we've hit 1990, we've reached the pinnacle of the system's life. And to be honest, there's just no way to whittle down 2 years worth of grades to a 12-item list. So instead, let's just look at 1990's best games, and give props to one of the most remarkable times in video game history. How many of these classics have you played? Clash at Demonhead. Once upon a time when quirky anime-influenced Japanese games came to the US, the quirky anime influence got whitewashed. Not so for Clash at Demonhead, a downright weird action-adventure that didn't bother to self-censor its surreality for Americans and became all the more memorable as a result. Double Dragon 2: The Revenge. The NES version of the original Double Dragon was pretty good, but it didn't really hold true to the arcade game. The sequel, on the other hand, was everything fans could have ever wanted. Bigger, prettier, more faithful, and yeah, unlike the original, it had co-op play. River City Ransom. While Double Dragon 2 was pure meat and potatoes arcade brawling, River City Ransom, from the same developer, was something more unique, an attempt to marry the belt-scrolling beat-em-up with the non-linearity and character advancement of an RPG. Although some of the game mechanics could be a little obscure, fans who stuck with it found Ransom to be one of the best things two people could do together with their clothes on. Batman. Movie adaptations don't have to be terrible, and Batman showed us how they can be great. Although only loosely based on Tim Burton's film adaptation of the comic, mainly in the cutscenes and the final showdown with Joker and the Bell Tower, Sunsoft's Batman looked and sounded amazing, featured intricate play mechanics, and was relentlessly difficult, just the way we liked him back then. Super Mario Bros. 3. Some people say this is the greatest Mario game. Some say it's the best NES game. Some say it's the best game ever, period. Wherever you fall on the spectrum, there's no denying Mario 3 is truly amazing. A vast, creative, colorful, inventive, challenging, exciting sequel that towers over the classic original Super Mario and set the standard for the series, and platformers at large, forever. Codename Viper. Thanks to the weird legal debate between Namco and Nintendo in the 80s, American gamers never legitimately got the NES version of arcade classic Rolling Thunder. But Capcom gave us this brazen ripoff, which in a lot of ways was actually better. With its plot, which placed players in the role of a one-man CIA out to stop a South American drug lord, it felt a lot more contemporary than Rolling Thunder's groovy 60s spy guy vibe, too. Final Fantasy. Like Dragon Warrior, it took 3 years for this RPG classic to make its way to America from Japan, but it was worth the wait. If Dragon Warrior was the appetizer, this was the main course. A massive, complex role-playing adventure that begged players to discover its ins and outs and explore the game again and again in new and different ways. Ninja Gaiden 2: The Dark Sword of Chaos. The sequel to TECMO's cinematic action masterpiece Ninja Gaiden turned out to be even bigger and more impressive than the first. With cooler graphics, a more interesting story, and the ability to team up with ghostly ninja helpers, The Dark Sword of Chaos brought Ryu Hayabusa's tale to a thrilling conclusion. CRYSTALIS. A cross between The Legend of Zelda's top-down style and Dragon Warrior's purely narrative and stats-driven design, CRYSTALIS represented one of the first truly great action RPGs. Like Ys, but prettier, and considerably less unfair. Sadly, SNK's intended sequel never materialized, but at least we'll always have this original. Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse. The stunning third entry in Konami's vampire-killing action franchise, Castlevania 3 represented almost as big a leap over its predecessors as Mario 3 did over its own. With dozens of stages branching paths through the world, and a trio of companion characters to choose from for your stalwart Belmont protagonist, Castlevania 3 was such an amazing game Konami had to design a custom microchip just to fit it all in. We got a watered-down version in America, but it turns out Castlevania is so amazing that it doesn't even matter. Maniac Mansion. PC to NES ports usually didn't turn out so well. Think Pools of Radiance, the disastrous version of Lemmings, all just terrible. But Maniac Mansion was different. The difference is probably that it was overseen by the original LUCASARTS team who created the original computer game, and they went the extra mile to ensure all the best parts of the game made their way across intact. Besides the part that Nintendo's censors cut, I mean. A funny, quirky PC adventure perfectly translated to consoles. Mega Man 3. Throughout the ages, the great debate will rage eternal. Which is better, Mega Man 2 or Mega Man 3? The real answer is that it doesn't matter. They're both masterpieces, high watermarks for the series and for gaming. Mega Man 3 goes bigger than its predecessor, introducing not only the ability to slide, but 4 remix stages to extend the length of the adventure. And of course, the music and graphics are par excellence. An absolute classic. And finally, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Konami's first attempt to bring the Turtles to NES didn't really go so well. I mean, points for trying, but sloppy controls and hateful level design really brought it down. With the sequel though, they gave the people what they wanted, a surprisingly good conversion of the hit arcade game. Sure, it didn't look as good as the coin-op, and only 2 people could play it once instead of 4, but the essence was there, and they even added in a couple of extra levels to make up for the compromises. Cowabunga, baby! Stay tuned to usgamer.net for more rose-tinted reminiscence, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel too, like all the cool kids do.